Well, it's Saturday today. What are we doing working on a Saturday? Well, my wife is out with a friend doing some flea market shopping, some Amish flea markets or something like that. And her friend, this Nissan Altima behind me, left her car here, and it has a check engine light on. So I said I'd look at it. So let's see what we got. Here's the vehicle info. This is a 2010 Nissan Altima with a 3.5 liter V6. And I was afraid of that. She did mention to me that another friend of mine is a mechanic and looked at this for her a few weeks ago, and she did mention that there was an EVAP leak code, and I think they maybe tightened her gas cap or changed it. I'm not really sure, but you can see we have an EVAP large leak and a small leak. And I said I was afraid of that because I'm at my house and I don't know that I'm prepared to do an EVAP leak diagnosis, but let's see what we can find. Just starting with some simple visual inspections. What I generally do with a gas cap is, I won't take it off. What I want to check first is, does it tighten at all before we hear a click? So let's try it. Nope. So that cap was tight. Just a general inspection routine right there, routine procedure. Takes this cap does maybe look like a newer cap. Yep. And then the other thing that you can look for, this would be mainly on some older cars, and we get this here in the Rust Belt of PA, but you look for a rust ridge around the filler neck area, and this one's definitely clean. Yeah, not much of a visual inspection I can do underneath where the car is right now in my front yard, partially on the road, so can't really get under there. So let's go under the hood next and see what we can see under there. So the green service cap is your giveaway here on the EVAP system. This would be your inlet line that comes from the purge valve. And so just doing a visual inspection in this area, take this cover off, I'll need to do a couple of Allen screws, hold that in. Just kind of looking here. I probably have to get underneath this thing and put a smoke machine on it. I do have a smoke machine, and I do have a small air compressor that we can do the leak test. I mean, really, that's what's in order here. Visually, I'm not seeing anything. This is where a Google search comes in handy nowadays, guys. You just have to learn how to sift through the crap. And I say sift through the crap because there's a lot of bad information out there, but there is a lot of good information. You can find common problems and maybe try to tie them into your vehicle, you know, when you don't have the equipment that I do to do EVAP leak tests. You know, find a common component that's being replaced, that's fixing the vehicle. And you know, that's not the way we do things in the professional world. We test and we don't guess. But it is a route that you can take. It is one that I'll use to give me a guide, and then I'll prove it. So I'll maybe find a post on the internet that says it's this particular fault, and what I'll do is I'll maybe take that information and I'll test it and make sure. So we have to smoke test this at this point. Well, I'm not having much luck. I'm back in the driveway now. I have the car up in the air. Well, I have it on a jack and jack stand, and I have my smoke machine connected. And one of the things that I do first with EVAP systems is I'll crawl underneath before I close the vent solenoid. All of these EVAP systems have a normally open vent. So before I close the vent, I want to look for smoke underneath. I can't find any, even with the vent open. Unfortunately, it's a little bit breezy out today too, so this isn't really helping me. But let me show you my connections and let's see if we can locate this thing. So I'm connected to my service port right here. And one of the things that I've done already, because I'm looking for smoke and can't find any, is I was worried about my purge valve being stuck open. So this is your purge right here. And so what I did is I took the line off on this side. This is the side that goes to your intake manifold, and this is the side that goes to the tank. So if I take, there's no smoke, so that's a good thing. That means the This normally closed purge solenoid is actually closed because that's an area you can have a leak. But I'm just kind of checking my smoke machine, making sure I'm getting smoke into the system, and what I want to do now is take it off of this side. I should have smoke coming out of this side. And this is plastic, so hoping to not break it. There's some dry rot right here on this part. No smoke coming out of there, so it's not a leak, but that's not good. Alright, so that's what I want to see. Definitely an area of concern is this dry rot that's on this hose, but that's not a source of a leak, so I'm not overly concerned about that. I would expect a lot more smoke to be coming out of there. Let me pinch the other side of this. We should have a ton of smoke coming out of this. The only reason I'm doing this, guys, is I'm worried about my smoke machine not producing enough smoke for outside stuff. And I might take this Schrader valve out of here. Let's see how much we got here. We got a lot there. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take this Schrader valve out. I just need to increase my smoke level here. Let's turn that off. There's a reverse thread. Remember that. It's a reverse thread Schrader valve that's inside of this. First time I ran into that in the field, I ended up breaking one because I was trying to get it out. Did not know that these are reverse thread, so turn it clockwise to loosen it. The only ones that were ever like that. Don't want to lose that. And that should increase my ability to get smoke in this system dramatically. You hear those locusts in the background, guys? Anybody watch The Walking Dead? I love August around here. August, September around here in Pittsburgh. The South Hills of Pittsburgh. I'm not in Pittsburgh itself. And ever since I've been watching The Walking Dead, listen. Hear that locust? I always call them the Walking Dead locusts. Because every time you watch that show, you always hear those. Kind of cool. It was filmed, I guess, in Georgia. They have the same kind of bugs we do. The Walking Dead locusts. Alright, turn the smoke machine back on. We should have a lot more smoke coming out of there now. Give it a second. Yeah, that's significantly more smoke. That's what we want. Maybe I'll be able to see it in the back now. For those of you that want to check this purge valve, you can actually take this purge valve with the key on, and you can energize it with a test light and make it turn on and then watch for flow. And then what you want to do is turn it off and make sure there's no flow coming out of that, because it's normally closed, and you can see that it's closed right now, so we're good. That's an area that you can check for a leak. For what else? How else could I tell you to check it? You can also take this side off. This is intake vacuum right here. Okay, if I would start this car, we'd have intake vacuum or ported vacuum, one of the two, coming from this location. And what you can do is you can pull this side off and disconnect the electrical connector, because that'll eliminate whatever the computer's doing with the solenoid. So disconnect this, pull this hose off with the engine running, and make sure there's no vacuum on this side. That's another way that you could check for this valve to be closed and not stuck open. With a stuck open purge, you're going to have other symptoms. You'll have a a long crank time after you fill your tank. Hyundais are known for that. And then you also potentially have lean and rich exhaust fault codes. Lean once the charcoal canister empties, rich when it's full. So symptoms of a purge valve that are stuck open, we don't have those. This purge valve is fine for what we're doing. And no, I didn't check it for function to make sure that it opens. In our case, I am only concerned that it is not closing. Primarily because of how they do their leak strategies. When they do a leak test, a typical procedure is the computer will turn the purge valve on and it will close the vent valve in the back, and then it will do vacuum decay and pressure testing depending on the system, just to perform the leak test itself. So I'm not worried about the purge. We could go further with that, but that will not help us fix this vehicle. All right, I'm going to show you guys another thing here. If I pinch, I want to show you how this tool works. If I pinch this line off, so I'm taking all of my smoke and eliminating it, basically sealing the system, okay? I'm going to do that. I'm going to pinch that, and I want you guys to watch this gauge. In fact, I can show you both at the same time. All right, so this is kind of a flow meter that I have this set up to look at right now. And if I find the leak or fix the leak, when I pinch this off, that's going to drop all the way down to 0. That's what we want to have. When you do an EVAP leak test, you want to see 0 on this tool, right? Like that. No flow. That's what we want. So right now, as you can see, we have a ton of flow entering this system. There's a variable to that, and that variable would be when you first connect this to the car, the system is empty of pressure and your initial flow readings will be high for a couple of minutes. So let it fill, and then what we should see is that number should start to decay. Then what we want to do is we want to watch that number as we take the scan tool and close the vent valve. And that number should drop and drop and drop because the vent valve is normally open in the back, and these are standard procedures. Now what I don't want to do right now is I don't want to close the vent just yet because I want to see where it lives. Well, there's my leak. But again, I have the vent valve still open. So now what we're going to do is close it. And this test right here just gives me an idea of location, potentially, of where this vent valve is. Surprised it's on the passenger side, because it's the driver's side that I have lifted here. And of course I'm being safe, guys. I will never get under a car without a jack stand, ever. Okay, the test I'm going to do is my functional tests, actuator tests, and I'm going to come down here to my vent control valve. Key on, engine off. I don't care about the data here, I'm just going to click on. I heard it click. I'm going up to check that pressure gauge now. This was at 70. And that's my orifice leak size. Let's change that to the flow. I like the flow number better. This is in liters per minute. That just shut off because it failed the test. I don't care about that. Let's watch this. This flow meter is a little bit different number than I showed you guys last time. The other one was an orifice size. What we should see is this number continuing to drop as the system fills with pressure. So we'll just keep watching this for a minute. You guys will have to ignore the running compressor in the background. It's just a little itty bitty one. So with the vent valve closed, we're still showing a pretty substantial amount of flow here. And what I'll do, I'll turn this back off, watch the gauge. See how much higher that flow rate went? Right, so there's definitely function of that vent valve, and I can hear it clicking too. Okay, so that's definitely functional. That's an area, guys. The vent valve is an area of concern on any car. You're working on GMs. You have a General Motors vehicle and you have an EVAP leak, it's one of two things. Well, one of three things. Either there's major rust underneath the car and something's rotted out, which you'll be able to find easily, or you need a gas cap, or you need a vent valve, a vent solenoid. They go bad all the time. In fact, I'll post a couple links in this description of this video for some GM EVAP leak tests that I've done with bad vent valves. I probably have 3 different ones. I have another one recorded and filmed and just not edited and uploaded yet. There's another GM, but this one had a wiring issue to the vent valve. You guys will see it soon. But we definitely have a leak on this system is what this test is telling me. I have to be able to find it underneath. This is where you need a smoke machine now. And fortunately I have one, but I am outside and I'm laying on my driveway, so hopefully I can locate it. But I do have the vent valve closed, which is key on any EVAP system. Close the vent valve, and of course make sure your purge valve is working properly and normally closed. We talked about that. Now we can go find our leak. Let's see what we have. And by the way, the whole time I'm looking, I'm going to keep this vent valve energized and closed. The vent valve is normally open, so when we energize it, we close it. The purge valve, the one I showed you previously, this one under the hood, right here to the right, this purge valve is normally closed, and when it's energized, it opens. First thing I'm doing is eyeballing this area again. See if I see smoke coming out of this wheel well. Kind of tough to tell from here. Yeah, I think I still do see smoke in that area for sure. So I get to figure out where those lines are coming from. I might have to jack up this right side of this car too. I see nothing under this car. I'm on the passenger side. It's a split tank. The exhaust runs in the middle. It's kind of a baffle. But it doesn't help that it's pretty breezy out here. And I do not see anything in this wheel well area. It's kind of crazy that I saw smoke there in the first place, because there's nothing here. The filler neck's on the other side. This is a big leak. I should have no problem finding it. It's weird. And at 3.0, 3.1 liters per minute, that smoke test just ended. At 3 liters per minute, I should have no problem finding this leak. The ones that I would have problems finding are the ones that would be 0.2 or less. This is a big leak, and being outside my driveway with the breeze, mainly the wind, just any kind of breeze at all, is really hurting me right now. Orifice size of this leak, give you that number 2. That's a 44 thousandths leak. On this car it should be 20 thousandths or less, and that's OBD standards. I think 20 thousandths leak, so they have your leak size for pass or fail. There's a 10, 20, and a 40. To me, there shouldn't be any leak, and when I do leak tests, I don't worry too much about orifice size. When I do, maybe as on an older vehicle, and you're maybe found a leak, and when you're finished, maybe it has a 15 thousandths leak or something, and you're worried about, well, that set the check engine light, and on the older systems they wouldn't set the light until 40 thousandths. Newer systems would be 20 thousandths or less. I think I'm saying that right. This would be thousandths of an inch. But anyway, I don't use these numbers. I don't care. What I want to see is zeros here, guys, on my flow meter. My flow one is my preferred method. It looks like all these lights are lit. They're not, just the angle of it. That one's lit right now. I have a 3 liters per minute leak. That's a huge leak. I should be able to find it. All right, this is my EVAP vent solenoid right here. That is my highly suspect component because they rust out here and then they separate. Did another Nissan video where I can actually show that and what happens to these. I'll put the link again in the description of this video. Guys, pay attention to the descriptions. Open the box up, look at it, lots of good stuff in there. All right, I'm turning the solenoid off. We are now venting. And by the way, this vents into the frame, and that's why we're getting all that smoke out of the passenger side. Okay. You hear that bad boy working. But man, I cannot locate this leak, man. Alright guys, just want to show you another way to test this valve. What I was thinking about is, since I can't find any smoke, this dumps to the frame, right? So I pulled this hose off. I'll show you in a minute. There's a lot of smoke in that picture. But right now that valve is open, so let me close it again. And what we don't want to have is, with it closed, we don't want to have smoke coming out of it. Nice. This is what I wanted to see, guys. This is a vent valve that, let me get my camera steady. Okay, so what was preventing me from being able to see this before is exactly that. This was my suspicion. I got lucky really in my driveway here. You know, a quick side note, you notice how when I have the light in front of it, how you can't, even on camera, it's harder to see that? And if I put the light sideways to it, see how much better you see the smoke? So that's another trick of EVAP leak testing is the angle of your light. The angle of your light is everything. Alright? So I couldn't see that because, again, this dumps into the frame, and it was just dissipating with the breeze that's outside. I'd mentioned the breeze a couple times. With this breeze that's outside, I was not able to locate this leak. So this vent valve is faulty. It should not be leaking like that at all. Let me turn it back on electrically. Listen. Right, that's with it open, clearly. And looks like maybe my smoke machine cycle, it goes through a 5-minute cycle and then it turns off. It might be close to being ended. Let me close it again. Listen. Okay. And that should stop. So it needs this vent valve replaced for sure. I'll show you guys one more test, and that is I will put this back on. And then what I'm going to do is take a pair of needle nose vice grips and pinch this hose off, simulating a good closed vent valve, and then we'll go up and look at that flow meter one more time. This is another way that I'll do EVAP leak tests, is I'll pinch the vent valve off when I do my smoke tests, especially if I don't have bi-directional controls, and then I'll do my leak tests like that. The only thing about doing it that way that you have to remember is if you have no leaks, when you bypass the valve like this and pinch it off, you have to consider that the valve could have been your problem. So it still helps you narrow it down. So let me rephrase that. Let's say we do our leak test and we have, we pinch the vent line off like I'm doing right now, right? And then we finish our, when we put the smoke machine on and we look at our flow meter drops all the way down to 0, and it tells us we don't have a leak. So what that suggests then is either A, the leak's not there right now, somebody left their gas cap loose, or B, you have an issue like we have right now, which is this vent valve is leaking. So then what you would do in that case is you'd take your vice grips off, and then you would electrically energize it. So, can you see my vice grips? Yeah. You would electrically energize this, and you'd have to do it manually. What you'd have to do without a scan tool with bi-directional controls is you disconnect your electrical connector and run a power and ground to it, which you can see is next to impossible to do. There are ways around that though, guys. If you follow more of my material, I'll teach you how to energize solenoids. I'll teach you how to identify them, whether they're power or ground side switched, how to energize them where they live and in their location. Again, I'll put some more videos, links to videos I've done where you can get some training on that. So pay attention to the description. Again, let's go up front and see what we got. All right, that's what I'm talking about. We're already down to 10. Is that thousandths? Okay, I'm back to orifice size. Let's go to the flow meter. Yeah, I'm at 0.1. I want that to be at 0. I'm okay with a 0.1 for where we were. We were at 3.1. There's our 0 right there, boys and girls. There it is right there. Stuck open, not fully open, but a stuck open vent valve, sticking open vent valve on a Nissan. So I'll keep you guys focused on that. I'm gonna go underneath. You're not gonna hear me because I don't have a mic on my shirt. It's on my camera mic. I'm gonna go underneath and take those vice grips off. Watch that flow meter. It's gonna jump back up. And I have this electrically still, wait, let me make sure, hold on. Yes, electrically, as you see on my scan tool, I am still energized. Watch my gauge. I'll go in the back, take my vice grips off. Electrically, again, I am energized still. So the valve should be closed, and if this was working properly, nothing should happen when I take those vice grips off. Did my smoke machine turn off? Oh yeah, it did. Well, that doesn't help. Damn it, I gotta go pinch that again. All right, well, we'll do this opposite. My smoke machine turned off. I'll go in the back and I will, I'll pinch that off and you guys can watch this. Okay, pinching off now. It's now pinched off. Let you guys watch that for a minute. Let's see, how could you have tested that without a smoke machine? You can't. You'd have to unbolt that from the charcoal canister and then you'd have to blow through it. So I guess it could be done, but you'd have to unbolt it. And the problem with stuff like that is, what if that's not your problem? You're gonna spend an hour taking that thing out of there just to check it. What if that's not your problem? Then you wasted that time. But I understand too, trying to save some money. And that's what this is about, being able to do it yourself. Get that down to a 0 here, and this time I'll make sure that my smoke test is still running when I take these vice grips off. Again, electrically we are energized. You see my on is check marked. I'm making a point of, when I take these vice grips off, I'm electrically energized, so it should still be fully closed, and when I take the vice grips off, this should stay at 0. It should not jump back up. So let's make sure. Is my smoke test still going? Yes, it is. All right, watch it. Taking the vice grips off. Just proving my point here, guys, that's all. The vent valve is not sealing all the way, needs to be replaced. So what's our takeaway? Our takeaway is don't pick a 90-degree day with a 75-degree dew point to do outside work with a camera, because nobody wants to see your sweat rag on your shoulder. It's freaking hot today, man. But that was a good lesson learned for sure about vent valves, purge valves. These are standard EVAP tests that I'm showing you. The smoke machine behind me is a Snap-on unit, and there's other ones out there that are less expensive than this one. But when it comes to EVAP testing, you need to have some type of smoke machine. I've heard of people, you know, being creative. In fact, my brother, before he had a smoke machine, one of the things that he did is he built a little air pressure gauge that would only put out about 2 psi of air pressure. That's what this thing does, 2 pounds of air pressure, or pressure. And then he would take a squirt bottle and, you know, soap and water, and you could find EVAP leaks that way. But you saw in this case, a soap and water test is not going to work. So there's times even then a smoke machine is needed. But yeah, normally open vent, remember that. Normally closed purge. The purge valve is the one under the hood behind me. The vent valve is the one in the back. Use the smoke machine to help you locate the vent valve. And I do that all the time. Remember, you can manually pinch the vent valve line off, but that changes things in that if that's the path that we chose on this vehicle, what we would have found is there was no leak. And so that's a guide too that says maybe this purge valve is leaking itself. So then you take the line off, then you have to smoke test it to find it, or unbolt it, energize it, do whatever you need to do. I'm not changing the vent valve in this. This is going to go to a garage, a friend of mine. In fact, I'll mention the garage's name because it's getting some body work done there. It is Arlington Auto, and they're on Banksville Road in Pittsburgh. And I do work for them all the time. Great garage if you guys need body work done. They're actually a mechanic shop too, but they specialize in body repairs. If you guys need body work done, the owner's name is Wes, and the service manager, or the manager's name is Joe, and I've been doing work for those guys for years. They do excellent work. They took care of my son's car, his little Celica, when it was in an accident. And those are the guys, I'm mentioning them just to give them props. Those are the guys that are gonna put this vent valve in for her. But anyway, thank you for joining me today, guys. It was a pleasure having you with me. I'll catch you next time.